everyone, this is Mama Says, and today Mama says
that color choices can help create community.
And I'm Elea, the daughter.
Oh, sorry. And I am Darin, the mama, and the creator of E.B. Hughes and Elea Blake Cosmetics.
So we're talking about color choices in community because in Chattanooga and probably around in different cities, there's a lot of building going on.
Yeah, lots and lots of building. And you actually came up with this topic, and I thought it was a really good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, first of all, let's get you in here. And, yeah, I came up with it because I've noticed, so the neighborhood I live in, there's a ton of building going on. It's near the downtown area. And, it's kind of a mix. We've got like old homes and new homes and all different kinds of styles. But I've noticed when some of the most controversial builds are like super contemporary homes.
Which I love.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's your favorite style.
Which is my favorite style. So, and they're painted in the color red.
A lot of them have really bright red in them. So these are like some really cool developers that are doing that. Like I think like one of the developers, he always chooses like fun, funky colors. But I also noticed some like individuals doing it. And
so it's become a trend.
Yes.
Yeah, the color.
I think individuals did it first and then developers were like, oh, this is in, like people like this.
Okay.
But I will say not everybody likes this. The people who like,
yeah, I love it. I personally love it. So there's no beef on my end, but apparently there's been a lot of controversy because red can be, see how she snuck me in there? So red can be a very powerful color. And so there's a couple things going on there. So there's a different style that's happening in the neighborhood. So whereas these neighborhoods are usually like the older types of homes, now we have this very contemporary style mix in there.
Yeah, so it's like, and it's interesting because the people that, you know, like, she keeps not looking at the camera, but the people that, you know, that are the ones who are in the neighborhood, and I think a lot of times these developers do a pretty good job at like reaching out to the community and like seeing how they can best, you know, get community support for what they're doing.
Right.
And, you know, we do need more homes, so it makes sense to do that. But the problem is they're using these really, I think this is what I think the problem is. They're using these really aggressive colors.
Tones, values, and chroma. So meaning like how bright the color is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
And so the people that already are unhappy about those builds even going in the first place because of like the visual harmony and disrupting or, you know, stuff like that are even more irritated because like they also are choosing these colors that are just so in your face and aggressive. So it's like very powerful. Like they're choosing very powerful colors and
it's just too much for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So depending on, like what we were saying is like you have your culture of the community, which is usually more traditional, and now you have a contemporary in there, contemporary build, and now we're using colors that are very bright and bold, and also contemporary versus like going with maybe some of the traditional softer tones.
Yes.
So that it's jostling for people. So I feel like what's happening is you're getting a lot of community angst where what I was saying, you know, where the heading is like color can be very community binding.
Yeah.
So talking about like if they're doing these new builds, maybe having a communication of like what types of colors are you comfortable with. I know that's a lot for those builders though, but even maybe just taking the feedback and scaling it down a little bit because like if they just softened the tones a little, it would build community.
Well, and the thing is these neighborhoods are not like very conservative either because people will paint their doors like bright yellow and stuff like that. And there are some fun colors of homes, black is one of them and things like that. And I think it's just that like if these contemporary builds had like bright red doors, I even think that would probably go over better.
You know, this reminds me, such a weird COVID thing to do, but one day a friend of mine and I just drove around our little city and we were looking at homes.
Yeah.
That's just what we did. It was like a Sunday drive, you know? And so we just kind of drove around, and she really hated the bright red buildings. And
Yeah.
I personally love them, but that's because that's my personality. I
Yes.
love bright and bold colors, and I think it's really, I like those, but to her, it was very jostling. So I think it's a lot of it is the value of the color, just kind of bringing it down a little, being it soft. And I said to her, I said, if the color of the building wasn't red, would you have liked it?
Yeah.
And she said, yes. And there's our male guy.
Yeah. Hey. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about it, because I mean, as someone who lives in the neighborhood, it doesn't bother me. But like, I didn't move downtown expecting that there was going to be like a visual harmony going on. But like, some of those people have lived there a lot longer than me, so like they're irritated by it, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think anyone should have to be mindful of, is like established neighborhoods and things like that.
Well, I think change in itself is hard for a lot of people. Some people really love change, and
Yeah.
they like to mix it up, and they like different textures and, you know,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the different things. But some people really don't. They like to have things just the way they were. And so when you bring in a contemporary building versus a more traditional setting, and then you bring in the mix of not traditional paint colors versus very bright and bold paint colors, it's just a lot.
Well, and that's the thing I was going to say, though. I don't think it's necessarily not traditional paint colors, because people do paint their houses
maybe too
fun.
bold.
Yes, and it's the red specifically.
It's red. It's, well, and let's talk about red.
Yeah, I was going to say, what colors would you maybe think
Well,
could fit? Because you love contemporary
love
design. So
it.
what would you think could fit that style, but maybe...
Soften it up a little.
Yeah.
And so I do think you could still go with a red, but maybe soften it a little and not be so bold. But of course, blues and grays are always acceptable.
Yeah.
Gray is always like, you know, that's a good way to sneak in a contemporary, and it doesn't have to be like
I'm kind of tired of...
I
would
know.
probably not like
Let
the
me
gray,
preface this by
'cause it's
saying,
very utilitarian.
I know, but let me say that the gray doesn't, I was going to say a boring gray, and I hate to use that term on gray, but like, it doesn't have to be like a neutral gray. It could be, so let's talk about this. Like, people use the term gray, but I might call it a light blue. So I would say blues, but muted blues.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, but a lot of people will call a muted blue gray, and you know that.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh yeah, that's gray. But it's not gray, it's actually blue. So if I had to be all color nerdy, I'd say nearly neutral blue.
Yeah, I
Blue
was
tones.
actually thinking more like green or something.
Yeah, green.
Not like a drab forest green or
right.
something, but like something happy green. And here's why, because
That's interesting.
blues to me, and this is just someone who's living in that neighborhood or whatever, they almost seem kind of corporate, you know?
Well, blue's safe.
The
I mean,
same
let's
with
trust
gray,
it. Let's
because
face it.
I think that's the thing with the red too. It's just so like aggressive,
Right.
and like it almost does have a. So what they did for this house though, they had a like teal door.
I love it.
So I was like, well, why didn't they just do teal?
Like a blue green. So that's a good happy medium.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't know what it is. I love green. Any of you green fans out there? I love green. I love green to wear. I love pops of green. I'm not attracted to green homes. That's just me though.
Yeah.
And I also know, for whatever reason, that we have a beautiful green home in this neighborhood, and there's some people that just absolutely don't like it. What are you doing? You're
I
getting
was
very
looking
distracted.
for
She's like, where's she
green.
going? Now you're being mean.
Okay, so there's this house in my neighborhood that's painted this color.
Well, I like that.
This is the green.
I know, but like, it's like deep and rich. It's a green yellow.
Yeah, and I was actually.
I'm being too nerdy about it. It's green yellow. It's totally different than green.
Well, I saw them like painting it, and I was like, ugh. But then at the end, I was like, oh, that looks really cute, because they had like white trim, and it looked happy.
It looks good. Oh, you know what? We should like.
But
use
it blends in with the.
And you're going with a dark value. Like, okay, so what do we think about that color?
I think that would be.
That's cute.
That looks very contemporary.
Oh, that's
too.
my color. I just picked it out too, and that's just hilarious. That it's a balanced 31, which is my color. Of course, I would pick mine.
Yeah.
But we could pick another one just to show. So this is a blue-green.
Oh, and I'll pick like the color that it is, which I actually do think.
I
is
love
really
now that we've
pretty.
got like colors. So this is a warmer blue-green, but it's still a blue-green. And then here I go, I'm gone. And then we have a cool warm.
Okay, and it's like the red is such a rich, pretty red. It's this.
Is that it really, or is it brighter? That's like pinkish red. That's a bluer
Well,
red.
it looks
You really
pinker
think?
in there, but
Is it more hot?
it's
I feel
pretty
like
hot.
it's warmer than that.
It's a hot red.
It's a hot red. I feel like it's a much hotter red. It's not quite this red, is it?
No.
No.
It's somewhere in between those two, though.
Yeah, it's a warmer-
It's very rich, and it
Yeah.
has like a cute teal door, and I was like,
like
well,
fire engine red? Is it?
Yes,
Yes.
it's fire
Yeah.
engine
That's
red.
a good way to kind of.
And then that's like part of it, and that's the metal part. I guess it looks like it's metal, so it's got like really pretty coating.
And I'm just in love with all these words.
No, you would
Metal
love
and
it.
red and fire engine. I love it. Yeah.
It is, and
I almost did fire engine red kitchen cabinets, and I'm kicking myself for not doing that because I think I would have loved it. I know it was a lot of energy though. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
and that's the thing. Like, I think it is hard to balance that because like I can look at it and be like, oh, that's really cool. And actually, I do think it fits Chattanooga, our city, well because we are a very industrial city.
Love it.
There's brick everywhere.
Right.
And it's like a more contemporary
I like the
twist,
thoughts.
of it. So it's like I totally get where they're coming from, but you're also dealing with people who have houses that were built in like 1900, which is old for the United States, you know?
Right.
So they're just like,
That's- Right.
Yeah.
They're just, and they moved to that neighborhood because that's what they love.
Yes.
So they didn't move to an area that really embraced contemporary housing. They moved to an area with more traditional
I
homes.
know, and I hate to say it, but I'm like, I feel like we all should have seen that coming because the area where
Right.
these are, it's like in downtown areas.
So what's our advice? Our advice is
I think color palettes should be presented to the community. I
it's
know
a lot of work, but like,
it
or
is.
just even be, and we really respect these builders. So it's not like we're picking on them because we know what they're trying to do, and I personally love it. But color does create community, and
does.
and we all know this. Like if you have had neighbors or you've had experiences before, that's like that fence story. We'll talk about that. But like where you have a home that everyone else is kind of like, I hate to say samey, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden someone gets a little wild and adventurous and they do the bright, whatever
what fence
colorful
situation you're talking about, yeah.
really colorful colors on their home that like maybe they live in we'll use our area as an example, like a Chattanooga area, but then they want to be more tropical with their colors and it throws everybody off. Then they're like, yeah, my neighbor did blah, blah, blah. So you can understand why that could create community or it could create discourse
Yeah.
because you're not having.
And if you're someone who's
synergy.
like totally fine with shaking things up,
Yeah,
like, more
yeah.
power to you, I guess.
Yeah.
But just know that like what your choices are will affect other people.
Right.
And I do like what you're saying, like color can create community. Actually, when I was in university, I wrote a paper about that.
I did a TED talk about it, but I never got picked. But I did do a whole talk about color. Color can create community.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and should we talk a little bit about like what color choices maybe mean at all?
Well, I think we touched a little bit about it, but we should go into it. So red is a very powerful color. So while it's very passionate, it can also, and this is what's
Inspire
happening.
passions.
Yeah, inspire passions, but it can also inspire aggression.
Yeah.
So that's
Which is
actually
passion.
what's happened, right? But like versus love, love hate.
Yeah.
Has a love-hate relationship, right? So, and then the blue-greens that we talked about, those are very tranquil. They really do create peace.
Yeah.
So blue-green would be a wonderful option. And then, of course, blues, which we talked about, like a nearly neutral blue that some people might call gray, but she said she was bored of gray and it was too industrial, blah, blah, blah. But blues create the
I do
trust.
think the tone of gray matters.
Right. Well,
I wanted to say that.
we're not talking, when I said gray, I wasn't talking about, I didn't want to use the word boring gray. Neutral gray, I'm talking about people call the color gray, but it's really not.
Yes.
Like slate blue. I'm throwing that out there. A lot of people will look at that color and they'll say, "Oh, it's gray," but it's actually not. It's just a very like muted version of blue. So blue creates trust,
and green
creates
it's
life.
It's lively. And if you're in a city that has a lot of trees and stuff, that's why I think it works.
Oh, that would be cute.
Because
that's
it
a good
depends
point.
what's around what you're building,
right?
You know, and what you're and actually that's a good thing too. Like, what else is around there? Like, but what is around the area? Is it like all industrial? Is it a bunch of people that have?
Is
gray
there
homes?
parks nearby? Are there trees nearby? Are there pine trees? What kind of trees? You know,
is it all concrete? Maybe don't go for gray.
Right.
You know, it's like stuff like that kind of matters on there. And if you're presenting your color options to your community with like those mindful things, they're gonna be like, wow,
that makes
those
sense.
people actually know my neighborhood and they are caring about this.
Right. Oh, and also like, this is just a sidebar, and this actually came up in a dialogue recently where someone was considering doing a green home because of the azaleas that were out front, and then the complementary color to that would be red purple, and azaleas have that kind of red purple, magenta look. So cute. So so you could do like a green home with like a magenta door, and it doesn't have to look so scary. It would actually look red, but it'd be cuter than red.
Yeah,
because red and green look very Christmassy, but red and magenta is softer.
You know, and actually I was thinking about this particular build, and I think the reason why they chose red is because across the street there's this pillar that is a bright red.
Oh, yeah.
But
they gave it some thought.
They did give it thought. Like, they were very intentional with their color options. But I just wonder if, like, maybe, like, that wasn't...
There needed more.
Well, maybe it wasn't clarified to people.
Oh, it's always about the story.
Yeah, it's very
always and art, and I feel like architecture is art, right? So,
yeah.
In art, it's always about the story. What's the story behind it?
I know, and it's funny because when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's really pretty, and I didn't think anything of it, and then I just hear like, oh, this controversy about it. I was like, oh.
But you're an artist too, so you're gonna look at things differently. So if you know, when you're sensitive to those aesthetics, when you're sensitive to aesthetics, you have a different viewpoint of things.
Yeah.
You know. So
maybe like you were saying again, like balance would have been good because they would also have
red with blue green door. Did they do a blue? Did you talk about the door being teal?
Yeah, the door's teal.
I love that. That was like, that's perfect.
And so yellow is very energetic. It can be very overwhelming to sleepy neighborhoods. Though.
Right. And a big thing right now is the gray and the yellow mix. But and that can be done very cutely, and it can also be done more aggressively.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think of neutrals as like browns.
Right.
I don't know if that's a safe bet.
Yeah, it's interesting, yes.
But yeah, so brown, I see it a lot, and it depends on your neighborhood.
Brown is a very traditional color. A lot of people always use the color browns. Like even their whites that they're using are actually oranges or browns. So, in
some neighborhoods, that's going to be totally fine with everybody, and people will like it because it's pretty consistent with the community.
Right.
In other neighborhoods,
and brown's a cute brown with a good fit red door is really cute.
Yes. So that's the thing. There are, like, especially in traditional neighborhoods,
or a blue door. Sorry, I just got excited.
I don't know if you see blue doors as much.
No, but I think it would be a great fit because they're complementary colors, orange and blue. Yeah, sorry, I just got really excited about that thought. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like very contemporary friendly though. It just depends on.
I thought we were just talking about color choices in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very strong. So that's another one to be mindful of for like avant-garde builds. You know?
Right.
And like the green yellows also, it's very determined. It's also pretty strong.
Right.
So I think cooler colors are probably better to go with. Of course,
we don't see too many purple blue homes.
Or purple homes. Even though like
maybe
a lavender home would be so pretty.
Maybe in the Caribbean you'd see that more.
Yeah,
or like Florida or someplace that's warm and like a resort community.
I could just...
Although I like it, would never be able to talk my husband into it. And I think my neighbors would be angry with me if I did a purple home.
I would probably, I
Judge
don't know.
me. You would judge me?
No, I would love
okay,
it.
okay.
I would be like, I feel like my husband, I'm just like, this is what we're
I mean,
gonna
it's
do.
a lot of work to paint a home. So
Yeah, and
it's not something you just do willy-nilly. So I'd have a purple bedroom, so.
Yeah. The darker your house is, the easier it is to.
Oh, to hide that fact that it's purple? Yeah.
Well, to hide the fact that it's purple, and then you don't have to paint it as much. Like the more chroma, that's something I learned from my husband because he used to work for Sherwin. But the more chroma, the more saturated the color of your house, the faster it's gonna fade. Right. So the more expensive it is to maintain. So that's also something to think about. The darker your home, it is gonna last a really long time without fading. I think that's what, maybe I'm getting that wrong. I have to put that in the notes.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Anyway,
in closing, we have to go.
Color creates community. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and live colorfully. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And hopefully we'll have our new camera here soon.
Yay!
And so we don't have to be so tiny. Follow us on Facebook at Elea Blake and Instagram at Elea Blake too. So Mama
Elea
Says
Blake
is our YouTube channel, and we hope to see you guys there.